The Rocking Horse Winner by D.H. Lawrence. David Herbert Lawrence was born into a poor family in Nottinghamshire, England, in 1885. When he was in university, he began to publish poems and worked as a teacher for a short period of time. He began writing poetry, plays, travel books, novels, and essays, and he also painted. His works normally include the themes of freedom, redemption, and tormented family relationships. He was a very controversial writer, as several of his books were banned. He died in France in 1930, 4 years after the publishing of The Rocking Horse Winner. The story is about a woman named Hester and her family. They lived in a nice house with a backyard. They had servants and they appeared superior to the rest of the neighborhood. Although they lived above everyone else, they didn't have enough money to keep up their current level of comfort. Their house became haunted by the unspoken phrase, "There must be more money." Hester's son Paul asked why they didn't have a car of their own one day. Hester said that it was because their father had no luck, and that luck is what causes you to have money. Paul then thought money and luck to be closely related. Paul thought if he was lucky, he could stop the house's whispering and satisfy his mother's craving for materials. Paul began betting on horse races to try to make money. He would sit on his rocking horse and ride it until it took him to his destination. It took him to luck. He would ride until he knew which horse to bet on. After winning £5,000 from one race, he gave it to his mom's lawyer, who gave her £1,000 on her birthday for 5 years. She asked for the cash up front because of her debt, but instead of the whispers disappearing, they became louder. She spent her new money even more excessively than before, and this drove Paul batty. He was then driven to find luck and stop the whispers. Paul wanted the whispers to go away. He wanted them gone for good, but for that, he needed to get lucky and get money. He would stay up all hours of the night just rocking in hopes he would find his destination. When he finally found the name of the next horse he would bet on, he collapsed to the floor in front of his mother. He had won £70,000 on the horse race for his mother. "Mother, did I ever tell you? I am lucky," Paul said. And then he died. The story takes place in their home in England, most likely in London, because the horse races mentioned all took place in the area surrounding London. The story takes place just after the First World War in the late 1910s or early 1920s. This is known because the races involved were popular, well-known races when the book was published in 1926, and because the children in the story had a governess and the family had servants, which were normal in this time period. The mood of the story is abandoned. The children never grew up with a mother's love. Paul tried his best to find luck to make his mother proud of him, but she only ever wanted more. Hester's abandonment caused her son to search until he fell ill and died. The tone of the story changes depending on the character that is being looked at. Overall, the theme is haunted. The haunted tone gives the story a bizarre structure that bears the consequences of greed. Restlessness, discontent, and loneliness are subplots in the story that are portrayed by the whispering, "There must be more money," and the lunacy of Paul while he rides his rocking horse. The loneliness is seen due to the lack of love between the mother and children. Nevertheless, when her children were present, she always felt the center of her heart go hard. She was unable to feel any love towards her children at all. "There must be more money" is a phrase that is repeated throughout the story. Hester craves money. She needs it to continue her current lifestyle, although there isn't enough money. Throughout the story, money destroys love and distances a person from their relationships. Luck is another symbol used throughout the story. If you're lucky, you have money. That's why it's better to be born lucky than to rich. If you're rich, you may lose your money, but if you're lucky, you will always get more money. When Paul is told this, he begins to ride his rocking horse to find luck, so he can make money for his mother. He believes if he is lucky, he will be given his mother's love and attention. Paul rides his rocking horse like a madman to find luck. Now take me to where there is luck. As Paul makes more money, his mother spends more, causing him to ride faster and farther. The rocking horse symbolizes death. The money that he wins is given to his mother, but there isn't enough money to satisfy his mother's addiction. The eyes of Paul were described very often throughout the story. Eyes are used to show the transition of innocence to madness throughout the story. The author uses adjectives such as unsure and innocent early in the story, to glaring, fiery, and wild-eyed later in the story, and ending with blue stones when he is ill. Mother versus self. Neglect due to the materialism and obsession. A mother's love cannot be replaced by objects and money. She cannot love her kids, and she replaces their need with extravagant gifts and objects they can't afford. The gift Paul gives his mother doesn't stop the whispering or his mother. It actually causes his mother to increase her spending and the voices to continue. and yet the voices in the house simply trilled and screamed in a sort of ecstasy, "There must be more money. Oh, there must be more money, more than ever." The mother's obsession for money and material goods ultimately leads to the death of her son. Paul versus self, Paul versus environment. Paul seeks the affection of his mother and becomes obsessed with trying to win her love. He doesn't understand that he can't buy her love, and his addiction to this will lead to a collapse. His addiction is to reach his destination, luck. He rides his rocking horse. He appears to be off his rocker, in a craze, until his horse helps him reach luck. He wants to reach luck to show his mother that he is lucky and deserving of his mother's love. Mother, did I ever tell you? I am lucky. The Rocking Horse winner has an omniscient narrator. The narrator sees all, knows all, and is not a character in the story. This narrator style allows for less bias than a first-person narrative, which allows the author to emphasize different characters' angles and omit others. The reader sees the views of both the mother and Paul. Paul appears innocent and alone. He is afraid and constantly haunted by the whispering. The mother is unhappy, cold-hearted, and unfeeling. The characters and setting are an appropriate fit for the time period. Paul and his mother have a very strained relationship because his mother has an inability to love anyone or anything other than money. She is never satisfied by anything that Paul does, even when he wins £5,000 and gives it to her. She needs more. Paul does everything he can to try to have a loving relationship with his mother, but she ignores his efforts. Paul's quest to win his mother's love is what caused him to fall ill and die. His relationship with his mother, or lack of a relationship with her, ultimately caused his death. Paul and his uncle had an almost brother-like relationship. Every time Paul told his uncle something, he understood it. He would spend time with Paul, and he gave Paul an elderly figure to look up to that he so desperately needed. They both enjoyed the same things and went to horse races together and bet on horses together. Paul and his uncle had a very strong relationship. In the end of the story, Paul dies without hearing his mother say that she loves him. His eyes were like blue stones. His mother sat, feeling her heart had gone, turned actually into a stone. After losing her first child and only son, will Hester be able to finally love or care for something other than material goods and money? Pride is a theme that occurs in this story from the mother's perspective. Although the family is too poor to afford the lifestyle they are living, they continue to scrape their way through life without admitting they're poor or that they aren't superior to the neighborhood. Obsession is one of the main themes in the story. The mother has to buy expensive things to upkeep their social status, even though they really can't afford to spend the money on these things because they aren't a part of that social class. Her son becomes obsessed with finding a way to give his mother the money she needs to buy these things to be happy. He is addicted to riding his rocking horse until he knows the winning horse's name. He loses his mind riding this horse all day and night. His obsession, brought on by his mother's obsession, ends up taking his life. Thanks for watching.